This cow couldn't bear me to touch her hoof, and it's very little wonder why. You're watching the Hoof GP. This is a cow's hoof that we've previously trimmed, and I'm not going to pretend I can remember what it was like on the first time, but I do know she was trimmed around 4 weeks ago and we applied a block, and judging by the look of her foot, she must have been in a state then. However, this hoof has actually gotten worse since the last time we trimmed it, because now it's overrun with infection. And in this video, we're going to release every droplet of fluid which is trapped within the hoof capsule, causing pressure, and with it, pain for this cow. This hoof is just so hard because this block is lifting this foot up off the ground, which is exactly what it's meant to do, but pulling it out of the slurry is, oh, look at that. Pulling it out of the slurry is dehydrating this foot. And before you say it, yes, I would love to wash this foot, but because it's all dried on manure, it would honestly take me about 10 or 15 minutes to get it washed. This foot looked as if it was healed when I first picked it up, actually. But apparently not. Sometimes you'll go to the doctors with a real problem and you come away feeling a bit better, knowing that you've been treated just like this cow. But actually the problem gets worse, which is exactly what has happened in this cow's case. Look up under there. The entire corium has got an infection raging within it. We need to strip away all of this hoof horn, and then probably up the side here a little bit as well. What a mess. I'm having to really take my time here because, ironically, that hoof horn being really hard means I need to force the blade of my knife through the foot as hard as I possibly can, but then underneath that exceptionally hard hoof horn is exceptionally soft and delicate tissue. If I touch it, like, you can hear she's not exactly enjoying it. Delicately rocking my knife back and forward to try to avoid having to force it through. You hear the horn actually snapped there because it's so hard it's become brittle. This cavity extends right down here into the toe of her foot. But as you can see, some of it is still attached, unfortunately. I say unfortunately because it makes it much more difficult to trim. No, I'm resorting to the grinder because it is so tough. It's clear for me now to see where this problem is coming from. This is a white line defect, and it's most likely that when we last trimmed her, the outer layers of flesh and live tissue were still infected, so when the hoof horn started to form over the top of it, it delaminated, causing the cavity and the pus-filled void beneath those external layers. So in all honesty, I can't remember trimming this cow the first time around. She was trimmed a couple of weeks ago,
and obviously had a very bad foot then because she has this block on which is staying in position because of Hoof Grip Pro, but I don't remember how bad she was. I can see the entire sole had been removed at some point, and it stands to reason that there probably was a slight slither of hoof horn left behind because it was probably still slightly attached to the corium. Infection has got in behind that and completely delaminated the entire sole, which has ended up in this mess. I'm just gonna get my grinder and remove this extremely hard edge because I'm struggling with my knife.
Sometimes things like this can seem like a failure, but actually it's just part of the progression of the healing process of a cow's hoof. Sometimes when problems haven't climaxed, if they haven't gone as far as they can possibly go, there is still room for them to affect and infect the tissue that is left behind. And that's exactly what's happened in this cow's case. The last time we trimmed her, there was still room for infection to rage on within the live tissue that was left behind, and rage on it did, causing the mess we saw here today. But I'm glad to say now it really has reached its climax, so hopefully now the healing process really can begin.